What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Scales 13. In today's video, we're going to be going over a common question that's asked very frequently when it comes to keeping Ackie monitors. A lot of people ask, why is my Ackie so shy? Or when can I pick it up? When can I start handling it? And in today's video, what we're going to do is we're basically going to explain why these guys are naturally shy in the wild. And I'm going to give you a few tips on how you can get these guys used to your presence and more tame or handleable in captivity. All right, guys. So let's start off with why Ackie monitors, unlike Thunder here, that are in the wild, are naturally shy. Hey, buddy. Hey, buddy. Nah, bud, that was the last meal one. No more food. All right, so to start off with, Ackie monitors are, of course, from Australia, for those of you who don't know. Now, in the wild of Australia, you'll find these guys in a large portion of Australia. You'll find them mostly in the northern and western territories of Australia. Now, keep in mind, you'll also find a lot of larger monitor species in Australia, such as the Parenti, which is the fourth largest monitor in the world, known as Varanus gigantus. And you'll also find monitors such as, buddy, this is about why Ackies are shy, not why Ackies are inquisitive and used to people and little softies like you. Come on, buddy. All right, we're gonna have to take a break. Thunder. Now, what we have to keep in mind is Australia is home to a lot of other monitors, a lot of bigger monitors, such as the sand goannas, which are Varanus goldii. Now, other than larger monitor lizards, these guys are also preyed on in the wild by snakes and birds of prey as well. Now, naturally in the wild, the Ackie monitor has a lot of competition in the wild in order to survive. Australia can be a very, very scary place for a small lizard. These guys have evolved and adapted a lot of different methods that help them survive in the wild. Now remember, guys, a wise quote that a lot of people say is pick your battles wisely. An Ackie monitor is not going to pick a fight with something like a Parenti or a larger monitor that it knows that it would just wind up being dinner for. So what would these guys do if it saw one? Take off, run away, hide. Now we're going to start off with the most famous thing that the Ackie monitor has evolved in order to help it survive in the wild, that really gives them the common name of a spiny tail or a ridge tail monitor, which is that spiky tail. Naturally in the wild, what an Ackie will do is, when it wants to escape a predator, it'll find a crevice in the rocks or a hole or anywhere where it can wedge its body where it can't be pulled out easily, and it'll go in there and it'll puff up its body so that way it's squeezed in there real tight. And what it'll do is it'll curl this tail up right here with all these little spikes. This is what makes Ackie monitors so famous. This is what gives them the name spiny-tailed monitor and ridge-tailed monitor. And what that will do is that'll deter the predator trying to pull it out. Now, of course, these aren't actually super sharp to the touch. I can run my hand across the tail and it actually doesn't hurt me in any type of way, but most predators are going to attack mouth first. And I don't think you want to have a mouthful of those little spikes if you're trying to catch a meal. It seems like it would be something very uncomfortable. So if the conditions are favorable for the Ackie monitor, the predator would actually get frustrated and walk away or fly away, whatever type of predator it is, from the situation, while the Ackie can then come out of the crevice and get back to its normal life after the predator leaves. Now, being able to escape a predator brings up a very valid point when it comes to designing your enclosure for your Ackie monitor. Ackie monitors are not big on having wide open spaces. What they want is an area that they can dash into quickly in case a predator or something comes around that can scare them. Obviously not me and my hand, because Thunder is pretty tame at this point and he's used to my presence. Now, what you can do to make your Ackie more comfortable in its enclosure is add a lot of hiding places. Now, for the most part, these guys are found in rock outcrops, but you don't necessarily need to use a pile of stones in your enclosure if you don't feel like that's something safe for your Ackie. You can also use wood and cork bark and a few other things as well. As long as you give your Ackie monitor multiple places where it can easily hide itself, dash into, feel safe and secure, that's going to make the animal feel more confident in the enclosure. And the more confident the animal is in the enclosure, the bolder the animal should become as it ages and gets used to its environment and its keeper as well. When people get their Ackie monitors, the videos that they've watched before of seeing them very interactive and very inquisitive makes them very excited, and they want to handle the animal too quickly. Now, the issue with that is they can actually wind up prolonging the taming process by jumping the gun. The biggest reason why people want to have Ackie monitors as pets is because of this right here, because they see videos of Ackies being very inquisitive and being very personable and great pets. Now, this is true, and they are great pets, and they can be very wonderful creatures to play with and enjoy. Some people have this mindset that getting an Ackie and getting your Ackie tame should only take one to 2 months or a few weeks. And I see a lot of posts and pictures of people asking, and this isn't an attack on anybody, I'm just trying to clarify information for people, but they'll put posts of, well, when can I handle my Ackie? And oh, it's been 3 weeks. When can I pick them up? When can I touch them? One thing I want you to remember is it's not about when you can pick your animal up. Yes, time is a little bit of a factor, but you have to get used to observing your animal and seeing what it's comfortable with. Now, as time goes on, if you're doing things properly, your animal will have progress with its confidence in itself. And when the animal gets confident that its owner will not harm it, that's when the animal won't have an issue with approaching its owner. And that's the type of positive reinforcement we want to give our Ackie monitors, so that way they can become the type of pets that we can enjoy, not only by viewing the animal in its enclosure, but by also having some hands-on interaction as well. So some of the basics that I did when I first got Thunder was, the first couple weeks, if it wasn't time to feed him or wasn't time to clean his poop, I completely left him alone. Now, if you guys go back to some of my older videos from when I first got Thunder, you saw me tongue feeding him only a few days after I got him. And honestly, guys, I consider myself really lucky that he even approached me with tongues that quickly in the taming process. Some Ackie monitors, a lot of them actually, will not go to tongues right away because they don't recognize it as a source of food. So if you want to make sure your Ackie is eating in the beginning, what I would suggest is just releasing some roaches, crickets, whatever you want to feed your Ackie monitor into the enclosure, and just watch your Ackie hunt. Another thing you could do also is bowl feed. You can do that with superworms, mealworms. You can even do it with roaches as well, as long as the lid is high enough. And that's the main thing you want to make sure first, guys. You want to make sure that your Ackie monitor is healthy and doing well as far as its behavior before you want to try to tame it. An animal being tame and an animal being interactive should be second on the list of what's important when it comes to keeping a pet. Another thing I want you guys to keep in mind is how you approach the animal's enclosure. Now, the thing is, when you come into the room that your Ackie monitor is in, you don't want to run in all fast, making a lot of noise. So as you see, I try to approach Thunder at eye level. And what I mean by that is I don't try to attack him from above like a predator such as a bird. And I don't try to come at him really fast like an animal that's striking at him like a snake or another monitor lizard. I try to come to him very, very slowly. Even though he's more of a tamed out Ackie monitor now, I try to keep the same positive practice just because I want him to be comfortable. And if I want interaction, I have to earn it first. And that is the mindset that you have to have when you're owning an Ackie. You want this, bud? Good boy. Now, one tip that I actually like to use for all of my reptiles is I try to make sure that most of my reptiles are not on ground level when I walk into the room. The reason being is because if they're on ground level, remember, these guys are only walk a few inches off of the ground. So if this animal has to look up, and if you're the height of something like a T-Rex or Godzilla, or, you know, that's just me being silly, guys. I'm just trying to put some examples there of a large, scary creature, that animal's gonna be intimidated as soon as you come into the room. That's not how you want to initiate interaction between you and your Ackie monitor. So one thing that I like to do with my enclosures is I like to get them up on a stand or some type of table, just so I don't appear as large when I'm approaching my animal when I come in the room. The reason I do this is because before I even open the door of the enclosure, I don't want the animal to be exhibiting any type of fear. Because if Thunder is afraid of me before I even open the door, well, guess what? Our interaction is already going to be compromised because of this. So what I like to do is first observe to see whether or not he dashed away when I open the door. Then I feel like I can confidently approach the enclosure, put my hand in, I'll see if he approaches me, and basically just let him crawl on my arm, ask for food. If he doesn't see any food, or if I smell like food, sometimes he'll try to claw through my hand to see if the food is under my hand, which is good. I'd rather do that than him start to nip, so that's a positive thing. At least he knows my hand isn't food now. Basically, I just watch all of his movements before I approach him. Last thing I'm going to talk about here, guys, is picking up your Ackie. One thing you may notice about the way that I approach Thunder is I usually put my hand towards him and I let him come up to me. I never really pick him up or grab him. Have I in the past? Yes. But going forward and practicing the proper things that you want to do for your Ackie monitor, you don't want to do this, because if an animal is being held against its will, it thinks that it's going to become dinner, which is obviously very bad between your relationship between you and your animal. So see how right here, how Thunder's kind of just sitting there and then his back end's laying on my fingers here. If I wanted to, I could kind of scoop my hand under his belly, but I'm actually going to just sit here patiently and just wait. Now remember, guys, if this is your first time owning a monitor lizard or an Ackie and you just brought it home and you're just trying to get your animal acclimated, one thing I want you to remember is it's not just your animal getting used to you day after day. It's also you getting used to your animal day after day. And some of these different techniques and stuff that I'm teaching you guys when I'm making these videos are something that you have to practice, so that way you get into the habit of doing it when you first get the animal. Because if you don't have it as a habit, then it's easy to make a mistake. And guys, it's okay to make mistakes. The main thing you want to do is improve. Every single day you should be thinking, okay, well, how am I going to approach my animal? And what can I do to make it more interactive? How can I improve the enclosure itself so that way the animal feels like it can constantly get away if it wants to? And how can I make this animal feel more comfortable? Now, once you get into that mindset, it's going to become so much easier, because once you start to see what works, you're going to start using what works over and over again. Then, given some time and a little bit of luck, you'll have a very interactive, wonderful pet for keeping. And there you have it, guys. I hope you guys like this video about why Ackies are naturally shy. And I hope you guys take some of these taming techniques that I've put into place. And I hope you can use them to your advantage, so that way your Ackie will get used to you. And so that way you can have a very wonderful experience keeping and raising your Ackie monitors. Hope everybody has a great day. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you like this video. Remember, this is Scales13. Remember to follow the Instagram in case you guys want to have a conversation. That's Scales_13. Have a wonderful day. Happy holidays. Peace.